First of all, welcome to everybody. Today we will talk about a little bit about network APIs, and with me I have Otilia, David, and José from different telcos. They will introduce in a couple of minutes by themselves. I will just will set the stage a little bit before then I handle over to all of them. So first of all, what are network APIs and what telco industry is aiming to do with network APIs? So in the end, network APIs are there to expose telco informations towards external developers. So we're really talking about here about developers which are sitting in companies and then can directly interact with the telcos. So what telco information so what information does telcos hold? So first of all, of course, identity information about SIM card holders and general the MSISDNs behind this, but also everything around the MSISDN. So where's the MSISDN? It's a roaming status. Is the MSISDN right now connected or not? But also what we can do with network APIs is to give some other settings in our network, like a quality on demand. So quality on demand is meaning that you get a higher guarantee or higher bandwidth in a dedicated area where maybe is a congestion. So when we from Telecom started with this around 4 or 5 years ago, we discussed with a lot of different telcos and players in the market, and not just telcos and also a lot of companies. And the major point was there that they don't just want to have Deutsche Telekom APIs in this. So it doesn't make sense to have just one API from one operator, or let me call it, in the worst case, to have different APIs from different operators which are not aligned. And for this, we're coming to the point, okay, we need to have a standardization. The standardization then we call Camara. It's an open source standardization where telco industry and other players are working together on standardized APIs. And these standardized APIs then they can directly use from developers to interact with all the different networks in this with the same language, let me call it like this. And for this, I would love to handle over for the first question over to Otilia from Orange. So, and would ask you how you see it from the Orange perspective, and what are you currently doing in your company here?
Thank you, Noel. Very happy to be with you today. I'm Otilia Anton, leading network API monetization and exposure at Orange. We have recently announced the creation of Orange LiveNet, a dedicated business unit to be able to fast track the availability of the APIs for Orange footprint. So coming back, Noel, to network API, how do we see network APIs? For Orange, I see this as a transformative opportunity. We have been, as Deutsche Telekom, early contributors to both Camara and Open Gateway, because we believe strongly that this is an ecosystem opportunity for the telco ecosystem to be able to become much more accessible on different channels towards customers. So it's about making network information, network data, network connectivity accessible in a simple way by large-scale developer communities and enterprise in ways that are different from our or are complementary to our normal distribution channels. And for that, on coming on the market, we have been focusing on the past 2 years on opening first API zone identity. While we have now 2 countries with commercial grade offers on identity in France and Spain. We're working into increasing that to additional countries such as Poland and Belgium. And we are also working on more advanced features from the network side on the first countries. So we see this taking on quite nicely in terms of availability. And we see lots of engagement with the outside ecosystem on it. To that point, we work with a number of partners to make that happen, and we are engaging a lot on how to develop the customer discovery and make sure that we're on the right priorities in terms of development.
Thank you so much, Otilia. So next one, I would ask a similar question to you, José Pedro. How are you seeing it on your side, and what are your currently movements in in your company on this topic?
Hello, good morning. So we are doing a lot of progress on the API, network API evolution. So we are creating our own platform to expose these APIs together with Altis Labs. But recently we made a prototype and we launched a program, a challenge that we call the API Sprint. We launched this challenge during the last November during the Web Summit, and it's now concluded. And we have the three finalists that win a prize. Okay, and basically it's they're working on with our standard APIs, the use cases that won this challenge are basically on working on security transactions for the finance industry, anti-fraud, and also for large events to monitor the level of enthusiasm on a live event. So what we see is that we can see the move of the developers joining these challenges, looking and understanding the opportunity that all those APIs have in terms of information and standard information and I guess structured information to develop a lot of applications in several industries. Although we see that the main industries still are the financial industry, banks, and but we see that we are moving, for instance, to entertainment for instance, with the location APIs to a lot of use cases in terms of location. And so we are promoting, we are investing, and we are looking at this landscape in terms of standardization and trying to get as much as possible in that field.
Thanks so much. I guess the reaching out to developers is quite important right now, and I really like to see. I love to see that everybody is more or less doing hackathons and everything like this. So also, David from Telefonica side, what's your current position and how are you moving right now?
Yes, thank you, Noel. So we started launching commercially Open Gateway APIs in Brazil in November of 2023. And then we launched in Spain and Germany in early 2024. And in the last Mobile World Congress, we launched in the UK. We announced the launch in the UK. All of this together with the other telcos in these countries that I mentioned, including Orange and Vodafone and Three, etc. So we have now some experience with real customers using the APIs. First of all, I would say that we started this whole thing because we saw the success of SMS. SMS can be seen as a communication medium, but it can also be seen as a capability of the telco that exposed through a standard way of accessing it enables applications to do a lot of things. And SMS has been very successful. It was generating revenue, and we thought, okay, what if we had hundreds of things like SMS? So we started developing APIs, of course, within the Camara community and the GSMA. And the main reason to believe in Open Gateway is that SMS is a reality today. And we're seeing that with the new portfolio of APIs that we're launching every month or every quarter, we see a lot of customer interest. They are all of them, I mean, almost all the customers that we contact, they are interested in trying it and seeing if it can solve any business critical mission that they have. As the other panelists have said, the initial successes are in security and authentication. So we have banks like Itaú, which is the biggest bank in Latin America, and in Brazil is a huge bank. Also banks in Spain, BBVA, Santander, also big names that are using APIs for anti-fraud. We also have big social networks like TikTok using number verification for user onboarding as a better, faster way. They were reporting an improvement of 30% in the onboarding success. In Spain, we are now testing, WhatsApp is testing our APIs for onboarding as well. So if you install a new WhatsApp application in a new phone, it will use the APIs as well. So there is a lot of movement around this in 2025 already.
Quite impressive what company names and all of them are in this. So, but let's move a little bit around. So we're talking about this topic, I guess, now 4 years. So let me just give my view. So 4 years ago, we went to MWC, talked about here's Camara. Then the year after, we talked about Open Gateway. The year after, we talked about the first Open Gateway Local Champion rounds. And now it's this year at MWC, I walked around a lot and saw everywhere the topic. So I guess now at the point for scaling. It's my feeling. So now we need to scale, we need to bring in all, let me say, like all the expected revenues and all of this. But for this, I guess there are some hurdles still. So it could be technical, custom related, or in general industry-wide. And my interest would be, José, Pedro, what hurdles are you seeing right now? So what challenges are you seeing on your side currently?
Sorry. Well, traditionally, as you know, the telco sector, the information of the telco sector hasn't been very attractive to developers because of the complexity of it. But it's a very rich information. So, and what have been done so far, and the progress we've been done is that we standardized this approach. And we got some very well structured APIs so that this information can be brought in a simple way to the developer community, so that they can develop their applications they can code them in a very simple way. Because now telcos are using cloud native technologies, and the approach is much more cloud native. So this can be simplified for the developers. So this technically, I think this is the hurdle. Then the biggest hurdle. Then we have the commercial, how to expose these APIs, how to commercialize these APIs directly or with integrators, hyperscalers. What's the role of the hyperscalers here? So the commercial models, we can have several commercial models, and they are not very well defined. And we can use them case by case, of course. But I think bottom line is that the operators, together with the GSMA, with this GSMA support, at least during the last 3 years, we had very good progress, making these APIs much simpler and standard and easy to code.
I'll go next. So I think there are hurdles both on the supply side and on the demand. So the supply of APIs, we need to go faster supplying the basic APIs. This applies to all the telcos in all the different countries. The technology exists, is a question of deploying it internally and providing the APIs to the market. The only reason why WhatsApp has chosen Spain of all the countries in the world to do these tests is because in Spain, the 3 telcos have the API exposed. So it will work for almost 90% of the customers in Spain. Once in a country you have all the telcos offering the APIs, then you start seeing the opportunities come. So supply is very important. And then in terms of demand, the market is not mature in the sense that not all developers know about Open Gateway, and it's not like a commodity. They don't necessarily know that they want to use the 10-year API that has been recently standardized. So that means that the sales cycle takes a while. It is it is a sale that requires customer hand-holding and is still not self-serve. I am convinced that eventually it will be self-serve, like customers will go to any aggregator like Vonage or Infobip or also to the cloud providers and just download the credentials and run the APIs. Right now, we are not there yet because the market is starting and customers are just exploring. But of course, this is a question of time, and it won't take a lot of time because once, I mean, for instance, in banking, everybody knows about SIM swaps, number verification, etc. So now we're starting to get leads coming directly from the customers that are asking. So in summary, on the supply side, we need to be faster and supply more APIs. On the demand side, we need to continue holding the hand of the new and existing customers so that eventually we will see more of a self-serve way of selling.
So nice point. So I guess one of the major points I see also here is what you mentioned is I call it development segments. So if we bring out an API from Telco side, it still needs some time when it will be out in the market in the application. So they will not get an API. So even if we announce an API for tomorrow, it will not be there integrated the day after. So it will always take some months. And yeah, so also, Otilia, what do you see on your side for hurdles and challenges right now in the to fulfill all these goals? Yeah.
There has been a lot of positive steps, Noel, because as we started going through the camera proposal, working together as an ecosystem, actually what we learned in the past years was that setting up the first offers were important milestones. And what, to David's point on supply side, we actually accelerated a lot in the past year based on those first learnings. That's also why we decided to support the creation of Aduna as a global player to help us fast track for some of those ecosystem scalability points and to make this easier for both supply side and demand side. And from Orange perspective, I would say that working on having consistent supply together with partner and peer operators in the countries in which we operate is important. So we do that with the support of the GSMA, with also support of local forums. And that engagement is really important because that's one of the key learnings from the past initiatives in order to get offers that are pervasive enough and that are consistent enough. Our promise is to make this simple, so we're very keen on working together to make that promise a reality. In addition to that, on the demand side, in related to what has been shared, I think that we need a much more shorter feedback loop between the proposals at camera, being able to work with customers in anticipation and adapt those proposals to the reality of the customer. So, of course, we have been working a lot on engaging developers, engaging enterprise, working with partners to be able to create the necessary level of awareness on the endless opportunities that network APIs can bring to the customers. But in addition to that, I would say that as we see first mature use cases on the banking, insurance domain, in order to scale that up on media, entertainment, distribution, delivery, transportation, so other industry areas, I think we need to be very conscious about this feedback loop and adapt our proposal pretty much real time to the customer. So it's a lot about co-developing those use cases with customers and then replicability. So working on the scalable issues across geographies. I think we are on the right path as an industry towards that, and that we see very strong support from partners and peers to be able to fast track these options. But we are humble on the learnings and trying to adjust to the real-time demand of the customers in that way. And that gave us the opportunity to tap into potential use cases that we haven't imagined before. If I take one example at Orange, for one of our developer engagement, we started working with a player named Certifico that does the certification of documents for B2B purposes, especially civil engineering. And it was really interesting to see how network information can strengthen the confidence and reduce fraud in the civil engineering domain. So that was something that we couldn't have imagined before. And every day we see cases like that in which we see new creative ways on how customers can leverage network data for their business.
It's really nice to see. So you also bring up a really valid point, which is then, let me take it back to Kamara. So Kamara should not be the next telco community. So it's an open source alliance where we're also trying to work together with developers to directly interact with the feedback for the network APIs directly in the standardization progress. So hopefully that the APIs which are coming out of Kamara will be so good that developers directly can use them. I know we started it from Telco side, so we need a little bit more drive from developer side also on the standardization right now. But I see like all of us are doing a lot of developer outreach here, taking these informations back towards Kamara and trying to work on this. I'm also happy that we have in Kamara a lot of the big aggregators, like mentioned, like Vonage, Infobip, all the cloud providers are in there. So it's time to bring more developer experience also into Kamara in the future. So now let's take a little bit of a look into the future. So we heard a lot about current use cases about identity. So everywhere we're going, everybody has identity use cases like banking. So David, what do you thinking could be the next? Will there be a change until 2030, or will be just identity the key driver in the next years? Yeah.
Yes, I think I'm not going to give a great news here, in the sense that we all know that identity is important, also customer data, and also quality on demand. Those are the areas that we have been mentioning for the last couple of years, and I think I'm seeing clear indications from customers that this is what they are demanding first. So customer data in general is the Know Your Customer API or the age verification API, tenure API. All of these are beyond identity. It's not only knowing that the user says who he says he is, but it's also knowing data about the user that can be exploited in many ways for security, but also for marketing, etc., with the proper consent from the user. So we are seeing examples of customers using Know Your Customer in the way that we were envisioning before, like for filling in forms, for instance, or for checking that the customer address is what the customer is saying it is. And then in quality on demand, this is an interesting API because it requires deploying network slicing basically in your network. If you don't have network slicing, quality on demand is just not differential from what you have already. You can also do it in 4G with radio resource partitioning, but the best way is just by deploying network slicing. We've seen in Spain examples with, for instance, regional health systems that they want to connect their different branches in rural areas. They want to be connected through 5G, and they want to ensure that the connectivity has the quality it demands for the health use case. So they are buying these APIs for that. We have another example with one of the major league football clubs in Spain. They want to enable their supporters to download the application of the football club when they are in the stadium, which is very congested. So no problem with quality on demand, they can do that. But for that, you need the underlying network infrastructure. So I think quality on demand will bring us a lot of new use cases in the coming months. And as all telcos deploy the new 5G technologies like network slicing, they will be a lot more widespread.
Thanks. Otilia, do you have other perspective on this? What will be the key drivers? What are you seeing right now from your perspective?
At Orange, we started with identity APIs as they were the ones that were closest, I would say, to solutions that were existing at the time. And I think that's still a strong domain, especially on anti-fraud and enhancing security. But I also see a great opportunity around expanding B2B proposal on network management and network configuration. So I see a lot of demand on connectivity insights on how can applications use network data to improve the customer experience, adapt in real time, and as well for features like location, quality on demand. And I think that when we move into the space from network information to network configuration, that unlocks a completely different opportunity for the telco ecosystem and for the customers, because there we can also we can work both with partners as well as with our product teams to expand the experience on advanced 5GSA use cases. David was referring to the availability of 5GSA. That's also an important element because we will also see upcoming value once several 5GSA networks will be deployed worldwide. Today, there are examples, but I feel that it's still a limited number of networks. And some of these really interesting use cases, we'll see them taking on much more rapidly once there is more 5GSA availability across networks. And to that point, I deeply encourage us to work through those options, also on network information. So one example is population density API. That is the kind of data we have that is there, it's accessible, and that can be really useful for a wide number of industries, wide number of applications, from improving public transportation to improving medical services or utilities, because that gives real-time statistics and predictive models about potential customers or clients' distribution. My thinking here is that we need to be pragmatic and take on use cases also that have a lot of traction, as on the identity one, but also strive together to work on the more advanced ones that will really mark a change with the 5GSA maturity.
Thank you, Otilia. And also, so José, what are you seeing on your side from, let me say, technology perspective here? What can be planned in 2030?
Well, we've been analyzing. Well, the market analysts, they do a lot of projections for the total API business by 2030. It's not easy because the numbers vary a lot, but they say something, which is a big interval. They say something between 100 and 300 billion dollar market for the network APIs. We don't know. Now it's a question. You don't know exactly what will be the distribution in terms of what's going to the network operators, what's going to the integrators, or eventually to the hyperscaler. But it's a big market to address, and there are some areas where the forecast is that, for instance, the entertainment, they forecast a lot of use cases that could be the next boom of utilization of network APIs. The media and entertainment, healthcare, a lot, the industry, 4.0, and all the smart cities. So there's a lot of use cases there that are not fully exploited yet. And for instance, we know that 5G the information will explode with 5G. The amount of information will be huge. And another thing is, like Otilia was saying, for the network management, we will have by 2030 millions and millions of billions of IoT devices. Okay, so these IoT devices could be fully managed, and the network optimization for these IoT devices could be fully managed and done by using the APIs and the network APIs and having special applications on top of them. So at the end of the day, what you see is a huge market. Telcos will have to fight for this share in this share of wallet in this market because other entities will have, and we'll have to focus on special use cases, on those use cases that we think that will have more impact and can take advantage of the use of the network APIs.
Thanks, José. So I take a quick look at the questions, and I see one question here. It's about standardization and what we can right now do for increasing, like for 6G and NTN multi-operator corporations in the future. And then just taking this to bring up one point. So what could be really interesting is to learn now what 5G maybe cannot bring. This could be for location APIs, maybe in a currency similar like GPS, which can maybe in the future change fully the IoT business. And I guess this is our role right now also to learn with developers what we can offer with the 5G. First of all, pushing network APIs over 5G and learning what maybe is missing, and then taking these missing parts into 6G standardization in the future. So yeah, just wanted to answer this question because I guess it's fitting here. So the other question is exactly going over to our, let me say it more or less last question for the round. It's about how the ecosystem is built up. So do we believe that telcos will lead this? Do we believe that aggregation is the key, or how we see that maybe even hyperscalers can move into this? And I want to start with the view from Otilia on this. So what are you seeing here? It's a telco game to sell it, or more like an ecosystem game?
I definitely think that telco will play a strong role because it's opening up network capabilities. So we definitely are a key driver as a telco operator in that space. At the same time, it's about scale. So definitely the reach and the user experience on network APIs, cross platforms, cross key marketplaces will be really essential. And at the same time, the theme here today is telco to techco. So it's also a necessity of transformation of our current connectivity offers. So I see also a deep link with the evolution of cloud offers and overall connectivity. So we'll see most probably emerging offers on hyperscaler platforms, on marketplaces, and it's in the essential point is how do we steer from the telco side the creation of new use cases. How do we make sure that we engage on what's most valuable? How do we address collectively what may be the friction points or the pain points for scalability? And at the end of the day, from my perspective, if we do this correctly as an industry, it will definitely be a winning play for the telco ecosystem if we make this transformation towards telco.
Yes, I agree. I think by opening up APIs, we are transforming telcos into digital platforms that offer capabilities that anyone can use from their applications. So that's very important. We're untapping a lot of value into the ecosystem. Part of that value will be captured by the telcos themselves, since we are doing a lot of the investment and we are required for giving the service. But there is value to share with the rest of the ecosystem, particularly aggregators, but also system integrators, ISVs, cloud providers, and eventually developers that are using these capabilities to provide better services to their customers. So I think this is a very interesting ecosystem that is going to benefit from the telcos finally exposing all these hidden gems that we have inside our networks.
Well, I fully agree what David and Otilia just said. So nothing special to add except, well, we need more than the competing between each other, network operators, hyperscaler integrators. I think we need to set up a collaborative landscape, okay? Because the network operators, we have a lot of the data security, all this stuff, this kind of thing. Our infrastructure is very important, but in some cases we can have hyperscalers as better integrators and can provide the network APIs with other kind of references. So I think we need to find a very close collaboration.
So thanks for this. So we have still some minutes, so maybe let's bring in something. What I learned in the last conferences, if not talked about AI, it's not a talk. So maybe bring up the question, maybe starting with you, David. How are you seeing AI can also move into the telco API world here?
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic. AI in general is a way for communicating between computers and humans and computers that is very different to what we are used to. So computers and humans have been communicating through menus, it's selecting the menu and saying what it has to do and keyboard for years and years. And now we can chat with a computer. So that's one big change. But then when you think about how computers communicate among them or how software communicates with software, that has been done through APIs for the last 20 years. So APIs is a way for communicating software to software. But with AI, you can imagine, and it's happening already, a way of communicating through natural language or tokens, as they call it in AI, right? So the minute the software starts communicating with other software using natural language, then your APIs need an adaptation layer that understands natural language and translate that into more legacy, if you will, API calls. And that not only affects to telco APIs, but to any other APIs in the world, the cloud APIs, banking APIs, anything will need a layer of natural language to adapt to agents that will be communicating in the background among them, but eventually using APIs to access the capabilities that are exposed. And that's no different for telco APIs. Telco APIs will need this layer of abstraction that is a translator from natural language into telco API world.
Somebody want to add something, Otilia or José, or how are you seeing it?
I see. Also, we see that there are several aspects to it. In addition to what David said, is also the way that developers use today AI in their day-to-day tasks. So we see a strong usage of LLM-assisted models for generating code, generating examples, generating documentation. So for sure, in part of it is that we use some of these practices when we shape the network API proposals, and at the same time, it's also thanks to the network APIs, we will be ready for this AI and agentic AI ordering proposals, because with the new AI applications evolving, that will mean that customers will soon have the opportunity to order differently services from telco operators, from banks, from public services, and AI are essential to that. That doesn't change, to David's point, that software will continue to talk to software through APIs. So it's definitely a strong momentum, and with the AI ramp up, we'll definitely see a consequence of that in terms of usage and possibly new use cases that will emerge out of this.
Perfect. So when I take a look at the time, I guess we almost more or less reached the.
But I'm sad to say, Noel, that you have.
Yes. Okay. So then let me say thank you to all of you to listen and also to attend in this, and now giving back to Annie.